I feel compelled to speak up at this point in time, and I encourage everyone out there to do the same for the sake of Africa and humanity. There was a time our black South African brothers convinced the world the reason they couldn't do what they wanted to do and be what they wanted to be was because of the whites. But having watched you many years after the end of apartheid, I can't help but ask, what would have become of South Africa without the whites? Your big cities today would have remained villages and hamlets, no doubt, because people with entitlement mentality like you don't build anything. Let me talk to you in the language you understand. Listen to me, at least as your big brother. No hatred attached. You need to hear how people feel about your actions. Has it not occurred to you, whenever the world talks about black South Africans, it's always for the wrong reasons? You do everything possible to attract unwarranted sympathy from the world. You plague the victim when you are indeed the culprit. This is the mentality that have kept you where you are. Having watched your videos, marching and singing in the streets, breaking into people's shops, a 12-year-old child said to me, have these people just been released from prison? That's the impression you create, in case you don't know it. There are a lot of you with great potentials, no doubt. But you found yourselves among a people with an incurable entitlement mentality. That you bust up your potentials to march and sing in the streets, demanding free food, free clothing, free medical care, free housing, and jobs that you obviously don't deserve. You want everything on a platter of gold. Proverbs chapter 18 verse 16. A man's gifts, a man's talents, a man's skills make room for him and bring him before great people. Government handouts don't make people rich. Palliatives don't make people rich. All you say is our land, our country, our jobs. Where I come from, it is said, real men say my job, my car, my house, because these are products of our own hands. What have you created with your own hands? I have often imagined if your fellow countryman, Elon Musk, was a black South African, programmed to wait for government handouts, would he have become what he is today, the richest man in the world? The answer is definitely no. I feel for you women of South Africa. I can see you have been successfully drawn into this mess. I see you fight with passion because your men have convinced you the reason they can't take care of you is because foreigners have taken their jobs. But if only you look deeply, you will understand that they are simply lazy. Come to Nigeria and see, one of the biggest oil producing nations in the world, yet the men are programmed to hustle. They are entitled to nothing. No free food, no free medical care, no free housing, not even a mortgage that work through which people could acquire their houses. Yet they don't march in the streets. They hustle. I am not extolling bad government, but the determination of an average Nigerian man. Imagine if Nigerians had their own kind of mentality. The continent of Africa will go up in flames. And let me tell you this, even if it was possible for all foreigners to leave South Africa, you will still fight yourselves. Because it is really not about the jobs or the resources, but your mentality. You have been programmed to ask, to take, and not to make. The scripture says there is dignity in labor. You need to put your hands to work. South Africans are the only people around the world that I know that expect the government to solve all their problems. You should be ashamed of yourselves Men over 40, 50 years, you live in hostels, shanties. You can't create jobs for yourselves in the land you were born and have spent all your life. But a Zimbabwean come to South Africa. A young Nigerian come to South Africa. And in 5 years, build a business empire. And that's state of envying you. The next thing you do is mobilize like minds to shut down that business or loot it outrightly. Let me tell you this. Scavengers don't quit predators because they will always depend on the carcasses of their kills. Be wise. And in case no one ever told you this, hear it from me. Xenophobia is not a sign of strength, but a sign of weakness.